Hello, welcome to the Nr1 Designer. My name is Veldboom, and in this video, I wanted to go through an end of the decade highlight of some of the things that I've designed throughout the last 10 years, and actually starting in 2014 that I still have record of. But yeah, I just wanted to showcase. And for earlier subscribers that kind of know this channel before as SVA Design, at the end of the video, I'll also have an explanation of what the transition is going to be and everything that you can expect from this point forward, also with just me designing stuff and my social media and everything that comes with that. So without further ado, let's get into it. And for the first picture, yeah, I just wanted to kind of I don't really have a name for it or anything, but the fun thing for me is looking at my older work, and that this is kind of the first time when I had the possibility to you know, do some surface modeling and everything in SolidWorks, that I can still see the same design language in the cars that I make now, at least when I'm doing stuff for myself. So that is kind of a fun thing to see that kind of maintained throughout the last 6 years, because this car is already 6 years ago. Another thing is that nowadays, if I would have done this car, then a lot of these lines would just been way smoother. I've just gotten way better at the surface modeling aspect for it. And also this was just like a surface model thing. It didn't really have anything with aerodynamics on it or anything. So that was yeah, that was a fun project though to work on. So this would be like one of the first houses that I did. I should also keep track of like the dates and everything. So here I can see that. So this was also 2014, but in February. The previous car was in January actually. So I think with this architectural stuff that I was doing, I think the multi-layer stuff in it and having concrete and glass and wood floors and everything, those themes also kind of stick throughout the same stuff that I'm doing now, and with architecture and everything. So that is also like pretty cool to see. And now this is pretty crazy, because what I tried to do right here was probably the first time when I started to see the possibilities that I would have with mechanical engineering in SolidWorks too. So I just tried to, and at the same time, this was 2014 too, I think. Yeah, it was. So this was probably around the time when the Formula 1 video started to come out with the new V6 models and the new V6 motors that they had, and running with the turbochargers and everything. So I wanted my own hand at that to kind of make my own version of it, and it looks very rudimentary and it doesn't look professional at all. I get that, but as a starting point, this was kind of fun to see that this was what I came up with. And there is my name. It's kind of my a logo of mine that I've been working on, and this is also very old too. Also in May 2014 is this one. But like kind of this was, I think, the first time when I had actual assembly of a car. So here I had like suspension components in there. I had like, I believe also the motor was in there. I think it was based on the V6 for the Formula 1 car that I had. But that was one of the first times that I could do that. So here I kind of think you can see that I start to see where what to do with engineering thing to kind of make it look professional. So if you would have like bolt patterns here that you kind of hone out the material to get these ribs in there to make it as lightweight as possible and as strong as possible, to and just that type of stuff to make it look better. And I started to learn about wall thicknesses and how to, you know, make bolt patterns in different ways and all of that stuff. Also, the exhaust manifold here wouldn't work at all if I look at it right now, because just the pipes are way too long, way too sharp turns and everything to kind of come together. And then as a collector piece, it's not supposed to be the same thickness for like 4 pipes coming into one as the single pipe is here. So that should also be a little bit bigger. So I could definitely see some places where some improvements were definitely in place. But you know, coming along the next picture, you can already kind of see that that was a little bit changed. And also like with the air intakes, and I think with these bolt patterns and everything, like it starts to look more professional already. And I was blown away by this point by myself already. So yeah, I think this was the first time when I had a car that was actually no longer a surface model, but that was also like solid. So I could actually do like wind tunnel test with this car model, and to see like, you know, how the airflow would be. And I learned a lot about that through this car actually. So that was, I believe, also 2014. Yeah, that was November 2014. So everything you've seen thus far has been from 2014, so it will be in like a chronological order for everything that I made so far. So here with the motor, you can already see like the exhaust manifolds, the piping is way better. The collecting piece is not like good at all because it's like kind of molding into one thing and still not the good thickness. Air intakes aren't good at all because you know it's supposed to have like equal opportunity for all of these air intakes to get air through them. And if you would have like a single tube like that would split up, then you would have like optimum airflow only in one pipe somewhere, and all of the rest would kind of be like very poor in air quality. But you know, still learning a lot about how to do this stuff. So with this motor in particular, I think I wanted it to be a high revving motor because I was learning about border stroke ratios and everything. And I think that's also why you can see that the cylinder heads are actually massive, but the block is pretty small because this thing had probably a bore on it that was huge in comparison to the stroke. So that was like also these were like fun steps to kind of see that the products that I were developing will kind of start to look like the things that you would see on actual cars on like the Geneva Motor shows that I was continuously watching all the time, and you know, things of that nature. So with this I started to see that that motor would be way too small for an actual car, or maybe it wouldn't even be too small, but I just didn't have like a perception of what the scale of it would be, and with the suspension components and everything. But I was just trying out stuff, and I think when we get like progressively through the whole cars and everything that I've made, that you'll kind of get to see where the progress will come in and everything. So yeah, again, this was also like some architectural stuff. I think this was like a basketball court like in the basement or something, with like a car elevators type deal here, and then this would be the main house. And it was like just my imagination going crazy of what I would think like a dream house of mine would supposed to be looking like, you know. So and I don't remember if this would be in the same house. I think so, but I don't remember if it was like on the back or something. But wood here was just two cars that I also made in that same period that would have like individual body components and actual interiors, and I was going more into detail and kind of learning more about how everything worked, and kind of using these cars as like test vehicles to kind of test my knowledge and to kind of see how far I can take it. And you know, with the internet, I was just continuously looking at videos about cars, and I was just trying to replicate those elements that I saw people build and all of that. So that was just kind of my journey to learn about all of this stuff. So again, same picture, same same two cars in there, but just different colors of things. So yeah, here also like again with the same headlight design, it is kind of coming out of the split line here for the button and the bumper here, with the tail lights and everything. But I think this one was already showcasing like way better surface modeling, that everything was just flowing smoother. And there was let's see what the date on that car is, 2016, so we kind of skipped 2015, didn't have a lot there. In March actually 2016 was this car. So yeah, here was like another colorway. You can see there's still like a line here. It's not that optimum, but just overall like the general pieces here and the flow of it just already looks better. This would be like a bar chair that I would design. I think for like the houses that I made, sometimes I also made like interiors, but I don't really have a lot of like renders of those. But you know, once I had these cars, I kind of wanted to have things to kind of display them with, kind of the background images and stuff. So I kind of need 3D models of like cool houses and stuff to kind of put these cars in front. And that was just how I started making like these houses with these main entranceways and everything. And this was actually the car that I also used to model my very first YouTube video for the speed art that I kind of put up. It's still on the YouTube channel right now. But that was a lot of fun because I kind of had the first time of having a reaction to my work, because before that I didn't really post anything. And that is also like, that was the 25th of December 2015 or 16, I think 16. So that was also like 4 years ago by now. So yeah. And I think this was the start of one of my most detailed projects that I had done. These cylinder heads were actually the free valve Koenigsegg, the pneumatic air pressure controlled cylinder head valves, and I kind of used those multiple times because it would save me a lot of work to make actual camshafts and belt drives and all of that, and at the same time it would be a better solution. So I kind of started to use the pneumatic free valve technology to kind of design my engines and everything, because I also thought it was always important to kind of incorporate the latest and best technologies that we had humanly available to incorporate those into my designs, because also it's kind of a stamp on time, kind of, because with the technology you kind of always remember when that came out, because these new innovations kind of in the design world kind of spark people. So usually you kind of link like a new innovation with a certain time in your life. So if you kind of look back at something and 30 years later that had that latest technology of the time implemented into it, it kind of becomes a stamp in the time to a nostalgic value that you can look back at a certain what would be a good example? Like sometimes if you hear like a older Italian car, before the motor even starts, just by the starter motor, the pitch of it sounds very distinctive, and by that you can already hear like it's a 60s Italian car. So the technology that they use kind of gave that car a little bit of a character by the time you started it up, that it already felt like a car from Italy and things like that. So that is just kind of what would be incorporated into the design elements and to kind of give it its character, I guess. So that was kind of my thinking about it. And here you can also see that just the quality of the flow and everything. There's also a little bit of a thicker pipe compared to the main runners and everything. Equal length to, I think I also did like CFD flow to see if they were actually like getting to the collector at the same time. So yeah, that was kind of getting better. And here I also like made my own gearbox for it. No clue if it would actually work, but I made like a double clutch system that you would have one clutch for like the main, you can see like one shaft in the middle right here that's kind of feeding the odd number gears and the reverse and everything, and then the other clutch for the even gears. And then you would have like this, the output shaft going into the differential, and then you would have like a drive shaft going into the rear wheel, and then you would have the motor sticking out further than the actual drive shafts and everything to have a transaxle differential. All of that, technical stuff. I should also learn to speak a little bit less technical, but that was I just wanted to showcase that detail. And also had like multiple spark plugs for each cylinder, so you would have dual spark in there. And before I show this, also dry soap lubrication. I just wanted to go as crazy as possible with it that I could. This was a big ass yacht that a friend of mine and I made, and we just wanted to have something that we just wanted to like have a full catalog of vehicles and things that would be possible to make and showcase that range and everything. And I think he actually took it further and kind of finished it, but I never really took it further than this one because the cars were just more interesting to me. So yeah, but it was also at the same time of this project. So here you can see that motor and the gearbox being incorporated into an actual chassis. So I started to make like the actual shape for it. And at the same time, I guess I was also working on some bathroom designs or something. But this kind of still looks cool to me, like with the concrete walls, have some wood in there, but then the floor and this your sink would be like some slate marble, a dark material, and then some metal details in there and everything. I just really love meshing up different textures and finding those contrasts between glass and wood and concrete and metal and different origins of different materials to kind of tell their own story. But back to the topic of the Project Hermes car. This was also like one of the best renders that I had done, that you could actually see like the full intake run. So you would have air coming in here, go through the trumpet, the air intake runner, and because of the 90-degree angle, you would have like a 45-degree angle for the air intake runner, so the air takes a very smooth path down into the combustion chamber. And then you would have like also lubrication channels here and cooling ducts around it and everything to keep the car running smooth. And like I said, the dual spark plugs and the direct fuel injector with the pneumatically controlled free valve actuated valves in the motor. So yeah, that was I just wanted to take it as crazy as possible as I could. And this was, I guess, in, let's see, also 2016, in August, actually, the 19th. And this would then be the car that it ended up at. And looking back at the car, I think it's still kind of, it looks good, but there's a couple of things wrong with it that kind of wishes that I did like a lot of the things different in this project. There's like a very cool double bubble roof effect with like the arches going over the fenders and everything with it, but the wheelbase is way too long, and it just rubs me the wrong way that I didn't spot that while I was working on it. But looking back at it, it kind of, it fucks with me a little bit. But you can see that like there are like two, it's like a cockpit type situation where people are actually like laying in there, and your hips are actually like your knees are actually above your hips and your toes as well, that you have like a bathtub that you're sitting in, but the wheels starting at your feet while the other ones are way behind you, while they're supposed to like start almost damn near next to you. So you can see that this hood is way too long. These wheels should have been pushed back like 50, 60 centimeters or something. It's really way off, but I still like the design of it a lot. But just that element really like messes up a lot for me for this car. But still, it was a very extreme thing, and it still looks dope to me. And as a design exercise, it was a good one for me, sure. These are some of the sickest rims that I think I still design to this day too. Just the double element to it, but it's still classy but very motorsport. I like that a lot. And also like chunkier sidewalls. I think that kind of needs to come back to cars. I think we wanted to blow up rims a lot, but if you have some rubber on there, it just kind of sits more confident, I think. I don't know. I just think that looks better sometimes. And here's again another shot of the motor. And here I tried to do it as professionally as I could. So that was kind of the next step into it for the next project. And I downloaded like an actual starter motor off of the internet, and to kind of incorporate it into it. Again, had lubrication channels and cooling ducts and everything in there for motor oil and water to cool all of these paths, and engine lubrication with the dry sump pumps and being driven off of the motor. You know, I try to go it again with the free valve heads on it too. Dual fuel injection systems, dual oh no, this was like a single spark plug. But just these cars just had crazy things on them, like actual dog gear rings on the gearbox. I still didn't know how to make the teeth properly, and also for the differential, didn't really know how to make the teeth. But I was able to set it up to make like the actual gearing work, that you would have a differential in speed with the wheels and everything running. And this is like a crazy suspension setup with push and pull bars and hydraulic lift systems and everything. But I'm thinking about developing this further for like an actual thing, but I'm not there yet. But you know, this is something that's very promising. So I'm looking forward to doing more on it. But brake systems, again, like a detailed shot of the new cylinder head for the V6 that I was making at the time. So, and this would be an adjustable intake runner length air intake, that you could change the length of the actual runner of the air intake that the guide path would take, because at certain RPMs, when the engine is running, it creates a certain frequency where you have some sort of a resonancy that kind of allows to drag in more air if the actual length of the tube is equal to the frequency in there. So it's a little bit hard to explain, but you could get more than the regular, like a high percentage of air into your combustion chamber if the length of the runner is optimized for you know, that specific RPM and the amount of throttle that you're giving the motor at the time, and also even the speed at which the air is entering into the you know, the air intake box and all of that. So it's just a lot that comes with it. And I don't know all of the variables that, you know, kind of go into consideration to do that properly, but I kind of know how to make the hardware around it, and then somebody else would have to figure out the computer, you know, things around it. And then this would be like the air intake box that would be then, you know, mounted to the roof, and then the driver's head would sit somewhere here, and then the whole engine would just be behind it. And also, a fun thing. Let's see if I can find a picture of that. I'll get back to it once the picture shows it up. I don't need to rush to all of this. And so here you can kind of see a lot of these systems coming together, that you would have the suspension mounted towards the gearbox, and you know, the engine sitting in there, and just the whole gearbox casing and the engine being part of the whole subframe of the car, and mounting the components to it to just save weight and not adding other subframes for that purpose. So here also with the suspension, you can see like the ball joints and everything in there. So it would be actually possible to also fit like rear steering on this car. And at the same time, these big units that you can see at the end of the differential here are actually electric motors, because the definition of this car, what I wanted to achieve is to have a real video car game experience, that you would have an actual nitrous button on there. So those are Yasa 700R electric motors that would produce 700 horsepower each, and also believe 700 millimeters of torque each. But because this car doesn't even weigh like 1,000 kilograms, it would be, you know, stupendous to have 1,400 electric horsepower and also a V6 high revving motor in there to propel this car forward. You don't need that much power for a car that doesn't weigh that much. So it would just be like an overdrive function that you could push like for 5 seconds a lap or something down a straight, that you could have just a crazy acceleration boost to give that video game experience, because video games play a very important role in the car community to kind of keep that love for the cars alive, I guess. So I wanted to make like a car that would work in both worlds, but kind of give the same experience from the video games back to real world, and also as an homage to those video games, I guess. But that was just the kind of the premise that I wanted to go through for this one. And here you can see like again the motor, but now with all of the lubrication channels and the oil filters and the dry sump tank, and then again the redistribution to it, and there would need to be like an electric pump here, and also probably here, or maybe before the oil filter itself. But that is just some stuff that I was working on. And here you can see the car that all of that mechanical engineering kind of came into, and that would be this project for Vitruvian, I think I called it. It was like the Da Vinci sculpture with like the human specimen, I guess, and that was kind of my version of a car, so I wanted to call it the same name. Don't know if I would call it the same if that would happen today. But yeah, I was just fascinated with the capabilities of SolidWorks at the time, that I could make stuff that looks like this, and I'm still kind of blown away by it if I look at it today. But yeah, and then, you know, you could do cool stuff to it like that, to kind of have the wing up and the air intake for the motor that you could see here, and the visible suspension components, and it just, the whole thing just ended up being my yeah, I think it's my best work so far, as just a complete project with everything up to it. And yeah, even these type of pictures, that this would take 24 hours to do. This would be like frame by frame, 30 frames a second for a 10-second video, and so that would be 300 pictures that it would need to render, and I would put it in a pretty low detail configuration. As you can see, it's not a very high resolution thing, but you know, you would get those videos out of it, and you'd be able to put it on the ground and have a dope background to it and everything. So the carbon fiber would just come out looking crazy. Like, you could even like go into further. This is how high detail and how high resolution these pictures can be with the renders and stuff, you know. Like, that is, to me, like, that's still crazy to look at. Like, yeah, I don't know. Here goes my black one, and I spent this panel right here to kind of have the glass flowing into the whole separation thing, to kind of, I want it to be as smooth as possible, but also with the aerodynamics in it and everything, to take that into consideration, to keep the airflow as smooth as possible before it kind of travels across the wing, to kind of help this produce maximum downforce. But that took me about 2 weeks to do it, to get it this you know, to get this surface finish on it, that you can see it, you know, kind of shimmer like that. And that was just, now I could do it like in like 10 minutes to kind of get it to that level. But at that time, to kind of get it perfect and to do the aerodynamic to it and everything, it was a lot of work. So what you could see here is that the exhaust manifold actually has 2 separate systems. So because of the free valve technology, you actually have individual control over the 2 exhaust ports and the 2 import ports for every single cylinder that you have on a motor. And with that, you kind of get the opportunity to have one of the exhaust runners to go through a muffler and have like for daily driving situations, and then you would have just one straight pipe system that would, you know, blow all the exhaust gases out as quickly as possible to produce the least back pressure on it. So that would make a car that would have the possibility of being like quite comfortable and more economical on the road, to full horsepower, get all of that air out of the system as quickly as possible down in the track situation. So that would be just like one of those benefits that the free valve system would bring to it. And again, another house that was specifically designed for this picture only that I wanted to kind of have in there. When was this, the date for this one? 2017 in September, actually. Oh, this is actually my mom's birthday. So the whole house was just designed for that purpose, to kind of showcase the car. And I also had multiple shots that the car would be parked in this area of the house, because I set up some mirrors on the outside of the house to kind of reflect the image of the car back towards you, so it would look like you would have multiple cars sitting there, but it would just be the one car. So I thought that was a kind of cool effect to it too. So yeah, this was the start of actually converting the car that you see here into a two-seater car, because this would be like a single person car. So here I actually put two seats back to back, and then I would have the same suspension setup, but then modified to actually work with the two-seater configuration. And this car did a little bit less for me. I didn't really like it as much as the first one, so as you can see, didn't really spend a lot of time on it. And this was my attempt to then, in 2018, I believe, I think it was 2018, to have my own Formula One car design in there, and to kind of test the aerodynamics of it, and to you know, do everything that I could with the regulations and everything that I had on the internet to kind of make the optimum Formula One car that I could make at the time. So this is kind of what that ended up looking like. It would not be competitive at all, so please don't let me make me yeah, I'm not trying to say like I would compete with any of those guys, like not at all, but it's a hard thing to do. In this picture, what kind of the main premises was that I wanted to have the three cars that I would was gonna spend the most time on, to kind of have a lineup for a brand. I wanted to have those three cars kind of as detailed as possible, so that is kind of what you see here. So you would have the single-seater optimum race car, you would have the two-seater road version of that, and then you would have a car that was very similar in design, but was more a GT car with a front engine or rear-wheel drive setup, as opposed to mid-engine supercars. So you can see the roof is a little bit higher, the entrance would be a little bit easier, but it would still be a very, you know, sporty GT car. And then this would be all of the underpinnings for it. So this was the craziest engine that I've designed so far, I think. Like these exhaust pipes aren't the final ones, I believe, but I think this was like a 7.3 liter V12 or something that I made. It was connected to the same gearbox as the other one was, so I saved a lot of time trying to just using older components that I already had for my further designs. And the main design premises for it was to look like a Bizzarini. So I believe in like 1964 or something, the same guy that designed the 250 GTO for Ferrari kind of ended up separating paths with them and started his own race company, and put like Chevrolet V8s in, like these beautiful body Italian race cars and stuff like so. Those cars were always just very beautiful to me, and I just wanted to see what a modern interpretation with my version of it would kind of look like. So that is what this car ended up being. So I will also like put up a picture for the older Bizzarini. But yeah, this was just a further stage again with the motor and the exhaust manifolds kind of going through the side ducts, the side seal of the actual carbon fiber monocoque, and to actually also have a front engine car with a carbon monocoque is also pretty rare. I think only like the Aston Martin 077 kind of did it. And then you would have the exhaust manifold that would, like, I could do something crazy with the titanium in SolidWorks to visualize the render engines and stuff, to kind of get like a heated element for the titanium, and that ended up looking amazing for it too. But you could just see how, you know, aggressive this motor would sound only based on how these exhaust manifolds kind of look. And this was actually like a purple carbon, I think. Yeah, but the contrast didn't really show up, but it was like a lacquered purple carbon, and it was a crazy effect to also have like the orange brake calipers and stuff in there. So I could play with stuff more and more, and just the quality of the carbon would come out crazy. So and this is also like the difference between the actual SolidWorks visualize, I should say, and the render engine that is in SolidWorks. So that is the kind of the difference in quality to kind of get it to look this way. But you know, this car came along nicely. Like the rear is also very aggressive with the diffuser. This rear is kind of inspired by that A12 Ferrari rear end design. So this was we needed to make something for like a bike design or something, and we came up with like a smart lock that you would be able to control with your phone, and would be also like a docking station for your navigation and stuff on your actual bike. So I didn't make nothing for the bike. That was all like a design that was from the internet, but I made like this brace for it, and with the chain that would go through your actual wheel and stuff. So you would have like your light on it. It would have like a sensor for your phone to kind of log in and out of it, to kind of unlock the actual you know, the pin for it. And that was just like a school assignment for the first week, and I just kind of wanted to show like I'm already like very good at CAD drawing and everything. So I just hope that this would kind of give me some freedom, that I didn't really have to come to a lot of the classes for CAD drawing and stuff, but that didn't really turn out to be the case. So yeah, but that was the first week of school. And this was actually a hypercar project that I thought I was gonna get like filthy rich from, because I was making this for a guy in Canada that told me that he wanted to make like a hypercar, and that he was gonna pay me X amount or whatever. But I don't know, it never really came to it, and I don't know if I want to talk about too much. But it was just yeah, a dope experience to kind of come up with something that looks like this, but it didn't really end up going somewhere. But it was a cool project for me for sure. And then this kind of looks to something that I'm working on right now, which is a micro car. I think I made this in like 3 or 4 hours, because I wanted to have like a general idea of what it would look like. But the finished version of this is not gonna look like this at all, to be honest with you. The nose on this is way more aggressive, but I don't know, it still looks very good though. But you have to see it for yourself once it's completed. I'm not showing anything else from the micro car besides this picture. From yeah, at least when it comes out and then once it's completed. So this was actually like a joint that I made for a lamp. So this would be like one of those clamps that you could you know, kind of screw and untighten and tighten the mechanism for one of these type of lamp arms, you know. So this was actually the school assignment that I had to take like a product that I buy at like a secondhand shop, like a thrift shop, and kind of make a new version out of it, and analyze everything that could go wrong with it and stuff like that. So with this mechanism, it's kind of, and also had to make it for children that were like 12 years old, I guess. So with this mechanism, if you kind of get your hand into it and you would kind of change it, you could squeeze your hands together and kind of make it a little bit, you know, fucked up for your fingers. So with this mechanism, I kind of wanted to come up with a simplified version of this, that you could still have all of the operating and everything, but then with like a mechanism that you didn't get your fingers into. And also these turning knobs were very small, so I wanted something that you could get your grip better onto. And you know, and I just also wanted to incorporate a lot of textures and different things into it. So I think I have a better picture to exemplify that. But at least this base would be made out of like solid aluminum, and then you would have the carbon fiber arms obviously, and then this would be also a thin aluminum shell. And the reason for it was that I could actually see with SolidWorks where the actual center of mass would be on the lamp. And the center of mass was actually a little bit, if you would stretch the lamp out as far as possible, and I'm not trying to put my hand up like that, but if you would stretch the lamp out as far as possible, then you would be able to see that the center of mass was actually a little bit beyond the actual plateau that it's sitting on. So what I tried to do is make that whole arm as light as possible, so that it would never, so that the center of mass would never kind of get outside of the base of the circle. So whatever position you would place this lamp in, it would not be physically possible to fall over unless you would actually like give it a little bit of help. But that was something that I kind of wanted to have in this design. So yeah, that was some cool things. And then for this render, you could just see all of the different textures that kind of come into play. So you would have For the heavier component, you would have like this brushed aluminum effect that you could also see here on the lamp. Then you would have like these high gloss metal kind of gun plated, these pressure sheets that kind of squeeze everything together to maintain the precision. Then you would have like a high finish, polished, the thread itself, and then also like something that's a little bit softer, the rubber pads that kind of keep the grip in there. But I kind of wanted to make these butterfly torque things kind of on both sides now that I look at it. And then in the render you also have like this deep rich mahogany that's deep in contrast and everything with very light and very dark details. So I kind of wanted to pull all of those things together in this picture to kind of get to the best setup that I could get to. And then this is the latest engine that I've made. So for the new 2021 Le Mans regulations, there would be actual hypercars that would compete. So I was just trying to put my hand into it, but actually when I was working on this project, I got my current project that I'm working on right now that I can't really share a lot about, but that was also the reason why I kind of stopped posting for a little bit for the past 5 months. But yeah, so that project was to actually have like something that would be eligible to maintain, it's to actually race at Le Mans. So I would kind of go through my notebook here and let's see. So what I would do for this project is that I would actually also take a map of Le Mans, and I drew that here in a notebook of mine. So because of my kind of ability to race a little bit with like the simulator and the steering wheel setups that I got, I would be able to kind of maintain like memory of a track and everything. So I just drew the lap and analyze the corners and the conditions of the track, and sometimes it would be raining, and also the quality of the surface with suspension and everything. And with that I kind of tried to come up with the ultimate version of a race car that would be for that track. So I kind of combined a lot of elements into it, and just went through like a whole design phase for it, and just drawings upon drawings on how I kind of want it to look like, and eventually you will be able to see the result for it. So this is kind of what it ended up looking at. And with the aerodynamics, I did a lot of crazy shit to kind of get it to have different aerodynamic properties in straight lines, or whether it was like turning into a corner. So if you would have an airflow that was approaching the car at an angle, then it would have different characteristics to when it is actually heading in onto straight on, because most of the times you don't want downforce when you're in a straight line, but you do want it when you're in corner. So if you can optimize that to kind of be less aero, like cause less drag I should say, and then produce more downforce in the corners, then you would have the best of both worlds. So that was kind of something that I tried to incorporate into just everything here. And then here's one of the final pictures, I guess. So this was my actual design setup that I wanted to make for my house here. So I live in like a 200 square foot studio apartment, like a container situation here in Amsterdam. This would kind of be like the ultimate setup for, I guess, a project like that I would have my desk and like a little fridge next to my actual chair and everything, so that I would be able to like get a drink or something. But that was just like a fun little project to see if I could do that, but I can't really make any changes here, so I kind of try to see what it would look like, but didn't really anything come from that. But that was kind of the final thing that I did. Yeah, thanks for watching. My name is Shaquille Veldboom, aka the #1 Designer. Please leave a like, also subscribe to this YouTube channel. Leave also a comment if you feel free to ask any question you want, or make a comment on whatever you feel like. And yeah, hopefully I get to see you in way more videos on this the #1 Designer YouTube channel. Yet again, I'm Shaquille Veldboom. I'm out.